Well, you just heard the sounds there of the man LeFlex. He's an artist who I've dubbed the best kept secret in the UK. This guy effortlessly fuses synth pop, R&B, dance, soul. He's been going quite a while. His back catalogue of albums and EPs is quite extensive. It's an absolute pleasure to have him on the line right now. Mr. LeFlex, how you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, Stevie. Absolute pleasure to be here.
It is, you know, it's an interview I've been wanting to do for a while. It's just timing, of course, with these things. What's really got me though is that in the last year I've only properly been discovering you. I'd actually downloaded Flexuality last year. I didn't really listen to it properly, and then as I was going through your back catalogue, it turns out that in 1999 I did buy a record by you that, you know, your name wasn't on that record. So inadvertently I'd heard your sound, you know, going back to the 90s. Let's start there actually with a white label that I remember dropping in a shop in Manchester. Nobody knew anything about it. The street soulers, the soulers all wanted that white label. It's now over £40 on Discogs to buy. Let Me Love You Tonight. Start there and tell me about that record and that project.
That started out, as you say, way back. It was never a LeFlex record. LeFlex has only been going a few years, and I've managed to get a lot of material done in that amount of time. But back then, it was just an idea for a track because at the time, music was changing, sort of EDM and stuff was starting, and it wasn't something I was particularly into. It was a kind of revolt against that. I was going, no, I'm going to make something that really speaks to me, and it got, you know, as you say, a little bit of traction, very, very small, but I sort of left it as it was then, and then all these years later, I thought, you know what, I'm going to resurrect that as a LeFlex track, and it actually was incredible. It became one of my most popular tracks pretty quickly after it came out, which was fantastic. So
it's a great record. Did you go to music school or anything like that growing up?
Yeah, well, I had my father and grandfather both musical, and I had sort of piano, organ lessons from when I was 7 till about when I was about 12. So I've got a good grounding in the theory of music, and I know how scales and chords and, you know, where to go on the keyboard and stuff, which has been very, very useful. But then I kind of wasn't learning to play the kind of songs I wanted to, because I was learning to play sort of old standards when I was obviously wanted to play pop songs in the 80s, and I wanted to play ABBA and, you know, soul records. So I sort of left lessons and then got my first synthesizer and just started fiddling around, really.
Sure.
It just grew from there.
I mean, what you seem to do with your sound is you're providing a sound that kind of, I wouldn't say it got lost, it got forgotten about. A lot of people of a certain age love the sound from the mid to late 80s going into the early 90s. We want to, you know, we'd love to see it coming back, but listen, you know, the youth have got their sounds, their generation. Is that what you set out to do?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I mean, go back maybe 4 or 5 years when I started LeFlex, I was just listening to music that was coming in. You know, I'd get in the car and put the radio on, and there was nothing that I liked. And I thought, what happened to the records that I used to get excited about when I used to run down to the music, you know, the record shop with my pocket money and come home with a little vinyl or a CD or whatever. And I thought, I'm just going to make my own records just for myself. I'm just going to write my own music, you know, and just put it on the internet and see what happens. And it just turned out that there's a lot of people that felt like I did, and they found me and I found them, and it's gradually grown from there. But it was just literally a natural progression of me just wanting to hear the music that I loved when I was young. So I just started to do that. Now,
your back catalogue of albums, like I was saying earlier, it's quite extensive. Let's go back to 2016. Was that the first project, or had you had some EPs before that? The Dance Floor Suite.
The Dance Floor, that was the first album. So I kind of had a couple of little singles that I was just messing around with. And then I thought, I'm going to make an album. So I did the album, and then as part of that album, because I think there's 15 songs on that album. So it's essentially an album that I made, and then all the little bits that I'd done before that all bundled in together. So it was just, This is everything I've got, I'm going to put it all together. And it's still, you know, the songs on that still remain some of my most popular. Things like Meet Me on the Dance Floor and Alone Together. Feels like these tracks are constantly getting referenced today when people tell me it's their favourite stuff, and also how they found me.
I haven't got time to go through every album, but what I will say, when I was listening to all them albums, is the sound you wanted to do. You seem to perfect it more and more as the years have gone by, you know.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where initially I was I was kind of sketching, and then as I did more and more, it became more apparent, and then I got more and more excited that I was sort of doing what I wanted to do. Now then I would reference more of my favourites from years gone by, and then I would include those. And essentially it's just grown, and it's become a little bit more focused, and the sound itself has grown and is much more how I originally wanted it to be. But at first it was kind of playing around, but now it's become exactly how I want it to be. So the next one again, the next album I'm about to start, again is going to go up another level. So I'm looking forward to getting that done.
If I had to ask you to list your top 50 albums of all time, which you don't have to do now, but would Alexander O'Neill's Hearsay be on that list?
It would actually be the first number one.
I knew it. Yeah, I knew it. You know. Yeah.
I have to say, every time I do something, I try. That album is in the back of my mind. It's like I've got to try and make my own version of that, and no matter how close I get, I'm never happy. So the next album comes around, I think, right, I'm going to write some more like that. It's just that album has spoken to me on a level I can't even describe. It's just absolutely incredible.
It's the production sound with that Jam and Lewis sound, the chords and everything. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Now,
I speak to friends. It's the glassy. It just sounds expensive. It just sounds like the most expensive album ever made. The reverbs and the glassy chords and everything. It's fantastic.
Incredible. Now, I notice as well with your visuals, your YouTube videos, and some of the comments you put online. I'm trying to get this word right. You have a very self-depreciating humour that comes across. Why is that?
That is, I tell you what, I know the music is good, and I take it so seriously, which is why I'm able to put so many albums out in such a short amount of time. But I have just a problem with the idea of pop stardom or that kind of thing. I kind of rebel against that by just taking the mickey out of myself as, being anything like that. So the music I'd like to be serious about, but then I kind of poke my tongue out at the whole idea of the fame pop stardom type thing by just being silly and doing stupid things. Although the image is changing, it's getting a little bit more grown up, sophisticated now with the past few videos. But that was the whole thing. It was just a case of the music was the main thing, and the rest of it. I mean, because I thought you get a better reach and reach more people by doing videos and letting people see who you are and stuff. So because they get invested in you. So it was good to get myself out there visually, but I just couldn't take it too seriously.
You seem to have quite an array of different kind of fans from all around the world, and a lot of the comments that I read from your fans all say, like, why don't we hear your music on the radio? Not about just the sound coming back, but they want to see you out there in the charts, on the radio. You seem to have invested a lot of money in yourself with your releases, your videos. You're very low-key, though. I mean, did you consider using, say, PR companies to get your music out there?
Yeah, I mean, well, the problem we're finding nowadays, because technology has allowed anyone with a computer to essentially be a producer, that there is just the sheer amount of material out there is incredible. Where before, in, like, say, the 80s, you had to spend a considerable amount of money to have a studio and to be able to make records and release records. Nowadays, it's much easier. So to be heard and found above the noise of everything is very difficult, and actually takes quite a lot of money. So I'm kind of relying organically on the cream rising to the top, essentially. I have, as you say, fans everywhere who actually have messaged me to say they're listening in, from South America to sort of Eastern Europe, Ukraine, and everywhere. So hello to everyone that's listening, by the way. So it's growing gradually.
Sure.
Yeah, it takes an unbelievable amount of money to actually to get your head above the parapet nowadays. So it's something I'm working on, though. So for the next album, it might be something that you see grow a little bit, actually.
Well, thankfully, we do have now a physical vinyl CD release out there that people can buy and get hold of. In terms of, like, compiling that track list, was it a bit of a nightmare for you, or was it very easy?
It was actually a nightmare because obviously vinyl-wise you can only fit so many on, and so it was like, oh, do I take that one off, and how can I leave that one off? So it was vinyl-wise, it was very difficult. The CD was much easier because you can get it. It's a double CD. You can probably get 40 on there. But yeah, I mean, and actually it was an eye-opener doing the physical product because I suddenly realised how much material I had actually released.
Crazy.
Because I forget about it. Sometimes people send me little clips of my song. They're in their car in the middle of some country playing my song, and I said, I can't even I've forgotten about that song. It's incredible, but yeah, there's so much stuff. So it was for the vinyl, but I'm really happy to have the vinyl and CDs out there, and it got to #1 on Amazon for the sort of pop soul chart, which was fantastic. So
well, it should do.
Very pleased with that.
Now, a lot of your fans and listeners do have different favourites. I noticed you left off my favourites from that compilation. Just talk about these two tracks for me, Gentleman, which we just played, and also The One You Want, which is possibly my favourite R&B record, soul record of the year.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So you've actually mentioned two of my favourites. Gentleman, of course, is just me striving to even tie the shoelaces of Jam and Lewis.
That could have been for Alexander O'Neill, that record, if you'd have presented it to him,
It could have been, and so that's just me thinking. I never think about what anyone wants to listen. All I think about is what I want to listen to, what I want to make, and that's how I do my approach everything that I do. And I desperately wanted to do something that sounded really on the nose, with no apologies. So Gentleman was very much everything I knew about Alexander O'Neill and all Jam and Lewis, and put it into one song. Which I'm really happy with. And then One You Want was one of those occasions where I sat down at the keyboard and it just fell out of my head.
Wow.
I can't even begin to tell you how happy I was that day. I sat down and I was watching YouTube videos and just tinkering. I have the keyboard in front of the sort of computer and I just have YouTube on. My fingers were just falling around the place. And then it just hit something and I was like, oh my God. And then stopped the video, and then just for that next few hours, I just worked on it, and it was there. And it was just one of those gifts that you sometimes get. And I was so happy. And it was actually the last song written for the last album. The album was finished, and then I came up with that song, and I thought, there's no way that can't go on there. I'm not going to save that for the next album. So,
well, listen, please put that on volume 2.
Oh, it will do, don't worry.
And I've noticed as well, you managed to make an underground car park look very cool.
Oh yes, in the video. Luck for You. Yes, it was Blue Water shopping centre in Kent. Went down there one very, very cold evening late when everyone had gone, and ran around with an iPhone and took a few shots, and I tried to edit it into something that made sense, and it actually came out really well, so I was very happy with that. Yeah. Now,
as well as your albums, you do have these little side projects, songs I'd wished you'd wrote. You're up to volume 4. Johnny H. Jazz. Wow. Tell me about that project that's just come out.
Well, it was the very first songs I wish I'd written. It was just literally songs I wish I'd written. Just when you listen to them, you just think, I wonder if I could do my version of that. And I just kick around a couple of songs and see. And it's just whether they suit my voice, whether I think I can bring something to it that's fresh or new. Otherwise, I don't touch it. I mean, there's certain classics that I would never touch because they're just as they are. And so every year, I just maybe get 6 or so songs from my youth. It just means something to me because they bring up a memory or because they remind me of a certain time. I like to record them and it's good because a lot of them people have never heard them. They might mean something to me and I know them, but other people don't know them, and it's like a whole new song to them. So it's great. I'm spreading the songs from back in the day and bringing them to a new audience, which is really great. But I've got a list as long as my arm of songs that I need to do for that next one, and it's just whether or not they work for me. So I'll try them out and see.
What are your social media handles for any of the listeners that might want to check your music out and follow you?
Everything is LaFlex Music. So the website is laflexmusic.com, Instagram is LaFlex Music, Twitter LaFlex Music. Everything. I'm on Facebook, it's all Reflex Music. So I managed to grab all of those. So just type that in and you'll find me.
And in terms of next year, do you have a strategic plan in terms of releases? Anything that you can reveal?
Yes. I've done a little side project with a friend of mine, benmacklin. We've been doing stuff together, which has been really successful. It's very much a poolside, lay in the sun with your cocktail kind of vibe. So in January, we've got that coming out. And then I reckon by about April, I will have something new to release. Not necessarily a whole album, but something new. And then towards the end of the year, my actual new album will be out. That I've started, just about to start writing now. So
fantastic.
Yeah, well, we're a busy year.
We're about to play Roxanne. Why did you pick that song?
Well, the songwriter and original artist for that is a guy called Jay Braden, who wrote After Love Has Gone for Earth, Wind and Fire, and he also wrote Turn Your Love Around for George Benson, an incredible songwriter. So I've been a fan of his stuff since back in the day, the 80s. And I covered a song of his called Someone by El DeBarge on the last songs I wish I'd written. And I sent it to him personally, to his email. I found his email, sent to him, and he came back to me, and then we got talking, and we've actually become friends, and we FaceTime and chat and talk about things. And so this was one of his songs that he released himself, which was criminally underlooked. And I thought I have to do a version of that. So I put it on the latest songs I wish I'd written. So. Okay. I hope everyone likes it. I've
just remembered actually, because I've got to mention this because it's a big project and a good nod for you. Donna Summer, you've been working on her remixes as well.
Yes, Donna Summer. I've been very fortunate to be able to remix some Donna Summer songs. So I did 2 remixes of hers on her last release, and I've done one, so Sweet Emotion, for her latest release. And the latest one has been going down an absolute storm. Yes. I think it's the 808 vintage.
We played it earlier. We did play it earlier.
Yeah, I've been listening to the show earlier on. You have some incredible music on, some incredible artists. Thanks. And it just shows the level of unsigned artists. That it's up there, and you just can't hear these people because it's just so difficult to find them. And it's just great that they're getting this showcase because it's been a fantastic show. I love listening to
Thank you. Well, listen, we're about to play Roxanne. Is there anything you'd like to say before we let you go?
Just a huge if you to all my fans that have been following me and continue to do so. I thought they've got sick of me by now, the amount of stuff I've released. So if you're going to stay with me, there's more to come. And say thank you to you for having me on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for your support also.
Well, listen, I wish you all the best, and just please keep hitting us with this music, LeFlex.
I will do.
You're making a lot of people very, very happy, sir. Take care, my man.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So it's down to this. Your bags are packed, you're out the door. Girl, how sad it is. You're telling me it's over.